Hi, welcome back to Saturday Strolling with the Orchids on the 15th of July, 2023, which is a Saturday. I am getting good at this. Also today, there is a care collab on Neo Phoenicia, so if you've not seen that, I will link the video down below, and then you can go check out everyone else's. So if you have a Neo Phoenicia or are thinking of getting one, I suggest go checking them out because there's lots of information in all those videos. I thought we would start here with my beautiful, beautiful fowl. This is the Sogo Yakidon Odom something another. But look at her. Isn't she pretty? And she has bloomed for me, like rebloomed since I've gotten her, but this is the best reblooming since getting her. The last couple, just been like one, maybe two. I think the other one was 3. This one, she's got 7 blooms. But the reason I want to start here is because, so this is the Cattleya Horus Maxima that I treated rather poorly, and she went downhill. And last week I showed you guys these lovely roots coming, and I said, well, there's roots, there must be something else coming. And look, at first I thought that that little bulge right there was going to be a new growth, but then I was really looking at her. We have an eye swelling right here, so there may be hope yet. There may be hope yet. When I'm done, I'll take both of my hands and I'll put her back where she has been used to growing. And while we're here, let's just come on down here and check out the Lucky Sun with her buds starting to swell. And then that secondary spike is wanting to turn. And then her branch right there is going to spike as well. And not much else other than, oh yeah, and then Looseberry, I moved her back there because her little spiky spike was trying to turn, so I have it facing in the direction of the light to make sure that it grows correctly. And as you can see, she is no longer growing that leaf. So soon as those buds start swelling, I will be nipping that spike off because I really need some vegetative growth on her. She just looks like a little sad plant. She's healthy. She just looks sad because she'll start leaves and then she'll start a spike, and then this is what I end up with. All right. Down here, I cannot remember if I showed you guys last week or not, but one of the pieces of our Dendrobium, what is that, green something another? I'm going to remember this one day. Our Dendrobium Burana Green crossed with Cruentum, Paradise, actually has a nice new growth coming on it. So there is hope. And then I'm looking right here. It looks like we might have a little swelling, something going on there as well. So at least one of, I think there's 3 pieces in this one. At least one of the 3 is going to attempt a growth. I still haven't thrown those pieces out. All of these canes are all dry, every last one of them. And then, you know what? While we're back here, I haven't looked at this one in a couple of days. Let's see if we see anything going on with it. No. Oh, and I just moved it a little bit, but that's all right. This Rescue Phalaenopsis, or ICPU Phalaenopsis, is finished off this leaf, and I don't see a new one yet, but I think this is the one that has roots growing. Yes, look at that. Lovely root tip. Let me put that bark back over it because that's how it was growing, so I don't mess up its little environment. And then that Gigantea leaf is getting bigger. I think I'm going to have to find her permanent home sooner rather than later. I thought I'd have a couple of years, but if she's growing her first leaf with me that big, I can just imagine what the second one's going to be. And she's not done. It's still tender. It's still growing. The Dendrobium Pink Phalaenopsis here, working on her little growth. I think this is going to be the term. I don't think she's going to get as tall as the previous growth. She might surprise me though. And then this one is still trying to recover. This leaf is much longer than the previous, and so I'm hoping that this one follows suit. And then of course lovely Bellina here, working on this beautiful leaf here. And let's just look at her real closely. I keep looking for a spike. Oh, hold on. I believe that, you know what, let's go set her down. Oh my goodness. I believe that might be the beginnings of a spike, guys. Let's just really hone in there. Or was I looking at it at a different angle and it just looked like it? Oh, I think it was just the way the light was hitting it made me think it was a spike. Yeah, it was the way the light was hitting it. I got overly excited for nothing. Let's get back. Speciosa red right here. I actually took her leaf and folded it back a little bit so that, because she was kind of growing this way. So by folding it back, it corrected her growth as far as being able to go back and forth. She's looking rather lovely as well. And let's just look at our cattleyas here. That eye that we saw swelling last week, it hasn't done much, but she has put out way more roots. Look at all those juicy roots coming. And then, of course, leopard green, all her roots all over the place. And then her new growth, let's see if we can find it. Let me know if you guys want me to take these off the shelf on a Saturday and we can just really look at each one of them, or if you're enjoying doing it this way. Let me know. And then, which one? This is Horace Maxima crossed with Potnera Dick Smith. She actually has a new growth right there. Do you see it? Oh, now you see it. Look at that. Beautiful. Excited about that. And the Ruth McNeil here, or Lois McNeil, is not going to bloom. This is a bifoliate that she's growing here. And again, you see she's still in the basket. I have not taken her and moved her forward. Kind of hesitant to do that. My Maxima, who is in Majority Moss, is still working on this one here. These latest growths, these three right here, are finishing off, so she should have some new growth coming as well. And then look at this Greek wax ball. Look at this. Look how much she has popped up. Oh my goodness, just gorgeous. And then my Hinson, the one I never can say. This one here. Let's see, my Hecoense. We'll call it a Hecoense. She is doing fine right here. And this one, another ICPU, the one with the Cattleya, those growths are doing, let's see if I can pick it up without damaging, but look at the growth on those since last week. Not shabby at all. Now she has actually completely senesced the leaf and it is completely dry, but I'm using it as an anchor, maybe, to help hold her steady so that when those new growths start growing roots, I'm not jiggling them about. And the Aussie Sunset, look at that. Look at this. Like, she's just like, hold my coffee. I've got things to do. And then, of course, the Cattleya, or formerly known as Laelia Zip, she is now pushing out beautiful root tips. And I don't think we're going to get any blooms because she would have probably developed buds by now. But I will leave those she's on there because there is the future. And my Maikai new growth is doing well. And I thought I saw another new growth on her, but I did not. Jane Austen is also pushing out her new beautiful growth right there, along with some nice new roots to support her. Nodosa, I don't know how many of you remember seeing her like at the very beginning of our Saturday stroll, but look how much these leaves are starting to open up now that she is getting regular watering. So again, even though she wants a wet dry cycle, guys, make sure you are giving them plenty of water so they can open these leaves, because one day this is what we might get. Now I bought her with this spike, and since it's still alive, I'm just kind of leaving it on. Usually I cut spikes, but when I have orchids that are struggling, I leave the spike so that they can draw the energy if they need it. And then my Laelia Paparata, Karina, I think, guys, I'm going to have to move her sooner rather than later because That's the top of the shelf. And this one here, she is almost as tall as the last growth, and she's still growing. So, might have to refigure that. And then oh, sorry about that. The Hippodamia that I got in the last ICPU unboxing. So since there's moss back there, I just have her sitting lightly on the moss. And I don't water this moss. I water it in the front, but it's hooked to the bottom here. So it gradually dampens. So it's very, very lightly damp. It's never wet. So I'm not going to rot it by leaving it sitting in there. Excuse me. My yellow bird, again, I've been watering it more often, and her leaves are starting to open up more frequently. And then pink doll. Now with this one, my experience, this growth is going to complete before she starts new roots. Now she does have roots that grew off of the older growth, because there is a little bit of moss just up underneath this bark to create humidity. And then last night, I am looking at my Dewy Forest Kudos here. She was in a clay pot. I was like, she really needs to be repotted, because she's been in that pot almost 3 years. So at midnight last night, I decided I was going to repot this girl. I started soaking her at like 6 because I was going to do it earlier in the clay pot, and the roots just would not come loose, even with a little butter knife. So I ended up breaking the pot, and if you hold on just a second, I'm going to show you the carnage. This is the carnage that ended up. And I took one of the older back leaves off, because it was the one that was kind of hanging off and making it difficult to put her on the shelf. So I just took that off. There was nothing wrong with it. And I did check the rhizome, and it was nice and clean. But yeah, some of these roots were still viable, but they were on the end of this kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm not putting this back in the pot. But as you can see, this media is very well broken down. It's very well broken down. This was medium bark when I put it in here, and it's just all broken down. So it was time. It was time. If I can zoom in, there is Lamigilia, I believe is how you say that, but there is her bloom. I'll get a picture and post it next to it as well, but there she is. She has been in spike since I got her, and is consistently extended and bloomed on and off. And then let me zoom y'all back out. My Lunar Eclipse, Isabella, Lunar Eclipse, Isabellera, is now working on some ruts. So just for the record, this one here does not start growing her roots until she is almost done with her growth and just before the bulb swells. And then the Dendrobium back there is still doing rather well. Miss Scary Princess. And then, of course, the I always forget, yeah, the Yellow King. I always want to call it Sun King, but it's the Yellow King. Still working on its 9 growths, possibly 8, because this one over here looks like it is trying. Let me see if I can turn it without messing anything up. There it is. Do you see it? Looks like it's trying to abort. I think I damaged it when I put it in this pot and got a little bit of water on it, but I've taken care of it, and hopefully it'll make it. But this one here is the furthest along, and she should be starting her roots soon, if I remember from the last one. Right about this time is when she started her root system. And let's see, Miss Snowbird Sweet Spots here needs water, but she is steadily working on her new growth as well. Let's just take her out and look real quick and see. Yeah, looks like she's going to start developing her bulb here shortly. And I do have her kind of semi-strapped just to kind of hold her upright. I probably will take that off now that she's matured. And these leaves are a little bit stronger, because before they were flopping everywhere. And then my No ID Oncidium. I love this thing. Love, love, love this thing. Ever since I put it in this primarily moss and bark perlite mixture, she's just done so well. So well. If you can see, this new growth here has no constantining on it at all. And then we have this growth that's coming out with no constantining. And we zoom in just a little bit. You can kind of see down here at the bottom where it is now starting to straighten itself out. So I think that worked. But look what I did. I hung my big girl from Ken over at Orchid Supply Store. And this is the new, this pot right here, I did make the holes. But this is the big girl. I said, I'm going to have to find somewhere to put her because I knew I was going to knock her over. So she's just hanging over here in the corner. I like it. And then, of course, hanging her in the corner, I had to move the Hawaiian treat because her leaves were hitting that. So I moved the Nodosa Little Stars up here. My 3 keikis over here, since they're phalaenopsis, they don't need a lot of bright light. Figure I'd give these to the primo light conditions. But yeah, so she's sitting there. And then Cherry Baby Spike has passed the shelf, is starting to head this way. So I will have to be very, very careful when I take her out to flush her to make sure I don't break that. That's why this little thing is right here too, because it's kind of in my eye view when I go. But let's just take a look at her. That growth in the middle is doing pretty good. And then these 2 on the side are continuing. Sorry, had to take a coughing break. My throat got really, really dry all of a sudden. And that was your no-no. And then look at the Miltassia. That's another thing I want to show you guys. Look how quickly she is growing. And she probably does need water. Let me see if I can bring her out without damaging anything. But I don't see, oh, I do see a new root. There it is. And a new root there. So she is growing her roots. Beautiful. Again, this is my first Miltassia, and the Miltonia is my first Miltonia. So kind of playing everything by ear. Loving this. Oh my goodness, she's doing really well. I'll be watering her shortly. And then the Brasidium Golden Gammon White Knight. Not sure what happened with this growth that she grew last year, but this year's growth seems to be growing normally, developing her bulb normally, because it looks very much, well, it doesn't quite look like that. I mean, that one's kind of shriveled up, never did restore itself after having to support a wanky and then this new one right behind it. The Dendrobium spectabile, look at that growth. That's just coming up pretty quick, as well as the Catatante, why not? And Hibiki is just making all kinds of keikis and new growths. And I did have to kind of wrap a strap around here. That's why the stakes are in here, to until these canes hardened off, because I didn't want her laying all off to the side quite yet. And anything going, oh, here's another thing. Again, I'm all over the place today. Sorry, not sorry. Let's see. Down here, we have, do you see what I see? We have us another spike coming on my twinkle right here. So I am, again, going to let her do her thing. I think she's going to be just fine. And then the Royal Chip blooms are still doing fantabulous. And I did check this twinkle over here for any spiking, but most of her growths are still in the process of maturing. So I don't expect any spikes off of her anytime soon. And my little chocolate chip here, bloom, is still going nice and strong, as well as her new growths are doing fantastic. There's that one, and then there's that one. And I did have her back in 2019, and my goodness, I killed her because I overwatered this Dendrobium. I read Latoya's like to, more water. They like to be wet longer, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, I kept her wet. And Roy Taganagua, look at this growth coming right on up. And then we have the other one here that's already opened up its leaves. Beautiful. All right, well, again, guys, remember, come back next week so you can see this beautiful bloom. You guys have a great rest of your weekend and enjoy next week.